Well, hello and welcome to Two Psychic Moms. I'm Julie Hawkins, the Biz Psychic.
And oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were pointing for me. Okay, go ahead.
I am, and you.
And I'm Tammy Langowski. Find me at tammysintuitive.com, offering intuitive readings to your questions, working with clairaudience and clairvoyance. And Julie, more of you.
And I always look off to the side to see what date it is, and I forget it's on my computer. But today is Tuesday, March 23rd. I'm just going to take a deep breath and let Tammy go first because I am not loving my computer, and it's still it has issues and it shouldn't be, and so I'm letting Tammy go so I can collect myself and get centered.
Oh, I know. It's like the worry of that stuff. So, okay, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for viewing. Just a reminder that we love your questions. So if you have any that you ever want to throw at us, general questions that, might be for everybody, you can leave them in the comments section. So what we like to do is kind of open up with some kind of a channeled message or, subject that we want to channel on and get some information. And then whatever kind of spirit brings to us, we might chat about some other things as well. So for this morning, for me, there was probably a couple things, but the one that came in was the idea of how this isn't too heavy of a subject or anything, but how we match energy with other people. And yeah, it was kind of neat because how it sort of came to me was I was just getting some tea this morning, and I opened my tea box and I'm picking my tea, and I thought, oh, I haven't had this one. I almost got another one, and then I thought, oh, I haven't had this one for a while. Now this is going to be something very simple, and some could say, well, that's coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences. But anyway, so I select this tea, and I do my tea bag, and about to put it down, and I see my daughter had hers down there too. And it was just, I had a chuckle because we picked the same tea. So basically, yes, could that happen? Of course. But I know that I hesitated. I went to one, and at that time, what my guides were telling me is that I was picking up on her energy. So I was in her space of where the space was, right, energetically. And then I'm picking that up. So the thought kind of came in like, oh, that tea, so I decided to pick it. But it is an ability, a psychic ability to match energy with other people. And if you're watching this, everybody has done it with, especially people you're close to, loved ones that you're around a lot, could be other people as well. I had one friend back in the day I would do that a lot with. It was really odd. I mean, she was a good friend, but not my very best friend. But all the time, thinking about her, and then she'd call, and, all those kinds of things, right? And yeah, we've all had those experiences. So they are psychic ability experiences, basically. They really are, because you are matching energy with somebody. And just another quick story. Another time I remember, this was when my son was quite young, and there was this puzzle that he had in his room that he would store kind of behind this a bunch of stuff where you wouldn't see it normally. I mean, it had been forgotten. And I'd been in his room, and I was cleaning out some things, and I saw this puzzle, and I'd taken it out, and I was looking at it, and I put it back in the exact same spot, where it was. Again, it had not been noticed for a very, very long time. He had not played with it, whatever. But he comes in, and he comes into his room later. I wasn't in there. And he said something about his puzzle, or he took his puzzle out. And I'm just like, oh, wow, that's interesting, right? So what he did really is he walked in on my energy, and he picked up my thoughts that were still there, right? Or the energy of the puzzle, who knows what it was exactly. But I never forgot that, because I thought that was just so crazy, because he hadn't, touched it in forever, right? So yeah, Julie, you're going to say something. I had my glasses off, so I can't see them.
No, I
It's not like your face. I want to say something. I'm like, I better put them on.
I'm just agreeing because I think it's a wonderful topic, and I was actually replaying some stuff in my head about, yeah, it's like we're always connecting with other people's energies, no matter where we go, what we do, who we're with. And I had a couple things pop up, and one of them was, um, I am somebody, I think I'm just very protective of my energy without realizing it or thinking about it in that way. But when I walk down the street, when I am in a crowded place, I pull in. I do not look at other people. Not that I don't say hi. If I'm passing somebody on the street, I'm friendly, but I don't go out of the way to notice my surround. Some people are just like, oh, it was this time of day, and this
Yeah.
the sun was shining this way, and there were 12 people on the street, and I'm just like, I pull everything. I think I just pull everything in, and to block out a lot of other stuff. And so I was just, it made me think about that. So I just wonder if anybody else does that. And
Yeah.
then the other thing I was had that popped up was I wanted to touch base with you and get your thoughts and your guides, because I think even though I'm working with my guides this morning, it's more me right now, talking about how you connect. How what is your experience with people who have crossed over, and how do you work with them? Because what I do is I don't see dead people. I see them in my mind's eye. I've never seen ghosts or anything like that. And I think that's because we work at in a different realm, a different vibrational energy, that we don't actually need to see ghosts. But I know, I think you have. Um,
Only a couple times though. Not, I mean, it's in my mind's eye mostly too, just like you. Yeah.
and so for me, so the work I do, I work in the Akashic records, and I give current and a lot of future information, things that will happen in within certain months or paths. It's very future oriented. My teacher would probably slap me down for that, but um, that's the way it comes. That's the way they've wanted to give it to me from the get go, and so that's what I do. That all being said, it happens very rapidly for me. When I work with doing mediumship readings, it's very slow. It's very slow, and I have to be very patient. Maybe that's the theme this morning for me, is patience.
Yeah.
My computer was certainly trying every last one I had. But so what are your thoughts and your guide's thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I agree. I know for myself, and you made me think about something there, Julie, when you're talking about like if you're walking down the street, you may not be, so focused or on certain other things. Always been a lot like that. And it makes me wonder, it makes me ponder and think about, is it because I've always been the empath, which I know now I have been, and so maybe some of those outward things are too are just too strong, maybe, are a problem. I don't know the right words for it exactly, but it might affect me in a way that's not, to my best interest, for my best interest. So I would say, yeah. And I was going to say, so I think basically that a lot of that for me has been maybe a little bit of the protection, not really realizing, because I too have always said, as an intuitive, for me, I am the type that, I usually have to tune in. I'm not, I will get the things like everybody else does too. I will get sometimes where you feel heavy stuff, or you feel things all of a sudden, or the words drop in. But most of the time, I am consciously tuning in, whatever way that might be, to listen to my guides, to listen to spirit. Yeah, and I remember you've said that before too. I think we're similar in that way. Um, and I think for me, that's, I can only say I think it's a little bit healthier that way. And right, because
I
there
agree.
are,
I
yeah,
feel like it's an on off switch. We can't
yeah.
always be in that. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think if you don't really learn that as a psychic, intuitive, whatever, that, really you can have a lot of, anxiety and things. What comes to mind is the Long Island medium, Teresa Caputo, when she's talked about that, she had a lot of anxiety growing up because she didn't know how to really, protect her energy, really, basically.
Mhm.
So if you've had it, especially as a young child, and were aware of it, then all the more, if you don't have some of the tools, you probably need to work through that process before, of protection of energy and kind of filtering things better. As far as the mediumship piece for me, I think for me, I too, it comes in a little bit slower. I can have, and maybe for you too, Julie, where you might have one particular spirit that connects really easily. One comes to mind. I have a client's mom that when she comes through, she's super clear. And that just has a lot to do with the vibrational level, I think, of how they match with our energy, right? And maybe where they're at. And so, but you know, I'm listening too. Sometimes if they're chatty, then it can kind of come in quickly. But for the most part, that's a process I like to take my time with, just so that I'm really listening and hearing. And you know, it takes a lot on the other side sometimes for them to really match our energy level and our vibration to be able to get that, yeah, information through. You know, so that is something to think about. So if you have a mediumship reading, it may be different for everybody, but I know for me, it's going to be one that's going to, you know, it's probably better to have a longer session
Yes, absolutely.
if it's just all about the mediumship, because then, you know, it takes a while to bring in some of the information. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And you and I are so alike in our methods and in our experiences in this work, and I so appreciate hearing that, because it just,
Same.
you think so. For me, truly, I thought every growing up, either everybody did what I did. I didn't think it was unusual until then later I was like, okay, now how do I work with it? And then that was a whole other story. But um so thank you for validating that, because it really helps, and I really appreciate hearing it. And
Yeah, same goes back. Yeah, absolutely. I think it is, and it is because it is very different. Intuitive psychics will kind of work a little bit differently. So you may not have the same exact experience with every, you know, reader that you work with.
something you said just makes so much sense to me, that I'm going to reiterate it and just say that you said people, well, spirits from the other side, it takes so much energy for them to come and be with us, that it it just feels like a slower process. Whereas with us, I think when we connect in with our collectives, they're much more evolved and of a higher vibration. It just can be so fast. Um, Interestingly enough, when I give a reading, the speed of the reading is often matched to the energy of the person I'm reading.
That would make sense. That's a good point.
It is so it's so interesting to me. Sometimes it's just like, and other times it's like boom, 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 boom. It just happens really quickly if they're a very rapid processor or very quick in what they do, and it's always so fascinating to me. So anyway, I think I needed to hear that. Um,
Me too.
Thanks.
You know, if I can just add this little nugget on, and this I'm just speaking for myself, and that since we're kind of talking about the mediumship piece, I might have for me mentioned it before. I consider myself, from what I've been educated on, maybe even what I've read, that I'm considered more, I think, a psychic medium versus an evidential medium.
Yes.
And yeah, and the reason I say that is because I like to actually know who you want to connect with. Sure, I could sit if somebody says, well, let's just see who shows up. You know, that would be, I'm going to say again, the Long Island medium is an evidential medium, right? For those who've seen her show and everything. And she's great. And so I definitely get sometimes some really amazing evidence or evidential things that will come through, but I don't look for it and I certainly can't guarantee it. So what I do is I try to connect with who the person it is they want to, you know, connect with. 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, it happens. And then, you know, it's a process of just listening to see what they have to say. Then I can open up to a few questions. Now, questions I can't take necessarily are, can that spirit, okay, can my uncle tell me what I wore in third grade to the whatever?
Yep. I
I'm
can't
like,
do that
no.
either.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, I don't even know why I can't. Yeah, you'd almost think like, well, why can't we ask those things, right? But we don't get that. I don't get that kind of stuff. I don't want to talk for Julie because, yeah, I know you're, you know, maybe the same a little bit for you, but sometimes then if I listen and take enough time, that's where I would say again, for me, it takes a while. If I take enough time, you'll get some stuff usually. I mean, whether it's just, it's the sound of my voice. People have told me, I don't know, Julie, if you've had this, I've had people say, oh my God, you sound just like them right now.
No,
Or
I haven't
you're
had
taking
that.
on their mannerisms. And I think literally I am, you know?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen all the time, but I can feel it. I can feel like I'm talking different or I'm, you know, but I'm allowing that and it's all safe and it's okay. But yeah, so sometimes it'll come through. So I just wanted to say that since we're on that piece of how I work with it, I like people to kind of know who they want to connect with if, and usually that is the case. Most people are wondering, checking in on mom, how she's doing in spirit, and you know, we can see what we get. I've only had one time where I had a spirit, one that I can remember, come in and say, I don't know you. And it was kind of like, so I'm not talking to you.
Interesting.
And it even surprised me. I was like, okay, I respect that. You know, I am a channel that kind of explained to them, but they're like, you know, I'm not interested. And so,
I it doesn't happen very often, but there have been a couple of times where I have not been able to connect with the person that they want to connect with either.
mhm,
I'm just like they're busy. They don't want. I don't know what it is, but they're not coming in. And
yeah,
I think maybe only twice that's happened to me. I don't do mediumship readings. It's not the bulk of my readings. My readings are, as I said, more forward looking. And I mean, it just it's maybe 10% of the work I do. And yeah, I just want to agree with everything you said. Same thing. It's I don't do evidentiary, but I can get things. I'm almost never good with names, but every once in a while I get something loud and clear, and I'm like, does this mean anything? And there it will be right on.
yeah,
But that's actually kind of rare for me.
yeah.
I've never been good with getting the names. I again don't know why, you know, if we're open to it, I don't know why it doesn't come in, but it just doesn't.
Exactly.
Um,
Totally agree with you, Julie. I
you,
had one time, I wanted to say, I had one time that I would, and again, this is, you know, I don't say this to think, oh, if you have a reading with me, you're going to hear all this all the time, because this was a rare situation, but, and I will change the names to protect the innocent. But I was doing a reading for somebody and I said, okay, I'm going to make up some names. Peter, Harry. I got like Peter, Harry, two names. And they both, there was two people that come to me and they were just like, what? And I say, you know, and I said, Peter, Harry. And they said, he went by those two names. He went by those two. I was blown away because I don't usually get it that way. So again, it's not a guarantee of every reading that I get that, but I agree with you. Names don't usually come in for me. That's why I like to know with my client, who is it you're looking for? Please don't have, please don't test the psychic. That's how I kind of feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to help you. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to kind of, you know, snow you or, you know what I mean? I'm not like that. So the more you actually can give me actually helps in the connection and
exactly.
in questions as well. The more direct you are, because I'm here to counsel with you intuitively.
Oh my gosh. You yes, yes, and yes.
Well,
I'll
I think,
never forget, Tammy. I think it was it wasn't one of my first readings at East West, but it was pretty soon after I had started working at East West. And a man came in and sat down and he's like, I want to know about my relationship. And I went, um, "Well, could you give me which relationship?" And
exactly.
the whole reading was as if he was trying to test me. And I'm like, I can do that for you if that's how you want to spend your money, but it's really in the long run not going to help you. And so I start out every reading doing the same thing. The more information or precise focus you give me, the more precise details you will get in return. So if you just say, I want to switch jobs, great. Let's talk about what you like, what you want to do, then
Exactly.
we can connect to the energy of that and what's best for you, and what is it in that moment of possibilities. And as we all know, right, Tammy, I know, I'm sure you'll agree with this, it is in this moment in time. a week from now, it might be something completely different. And it's based on who you are and where you are in your life and what work you do towards that end. So it was funny though. He just kept, it was just like prying information out of him. And it, I'm just like, I don't, and finally I told him, I don't, you, if this is what you want to do, that's fine, but it's not really helpful to you. So
Right. Agreed, agreed, 100%. We do work very similarly, definitely. And we've all, most readers will say, oh yeah, I've had the person that was like you said, prying teeth, pulling teeth to get any information to help them. Because general questions, you're going to get general feedback for the most part. Now, some things we understand are kind of general, and I will often try to help them with questions, but yeah, it's best to come, first of all, if you really want a reading for yourself. I know that sounds kind of silly, but sometimes, well-meaning clients, and we appreciate referrals, absolutely. And most of them are great to do that with, but sometimes we want somebody to have a reading so bad, like you had a reading and it went really well, and it would really help this person, but this person's really reluctant, and they just really, I would say let them definitely be the ones to contact. I can speak for myself on that. Contact me, because then I know that their energy is basically telling me that they really are ready for a reading, and they'll be more open to one. Often for new clients, I will have them just take a moment to imagine that they're puffing their aura out to me and giving me permission to read their energy, that it's safe to do so. Because I don't really need that to get the information, but I think it's a nice thing to do. That way we have that agreement, you know what I mean? That we're going to work that way. But yeah, it is very challenging. Really, I'd almost speak for a lot of intuitives, for anybody to come in with the well, you're psychic. You're supposed to just know everything and kind of tell me my future and tell me, But same thing, Julie, when you said about, like, if somebody says, well, I don't know what job to go to or whatever, we say, perfect. Okay, let's look at some areas you're thinking about. What are some to start with that we can look at the energy of them? So that was great that you mentioned that. I hope this is helpful, hearing this, what we're talking about. Just,
and the other thing, and I don't know if you've experienced this either, so I'm going to share this as well. I gave a reading last week actually, and it's happened. The scenario that I'm going to give you has happened maybe 5 times over, the 10 years that I've been doing this, and the thousands, over 1,000 readings that I've given, and I'm sure you've given many thousands of readings. It doesn't happen very often, but once in a blue moon, somebody will come to me and they're stuck, they need a transition from their job, something, and they really have no idea where to go. And every once in a while it's like, I can't give you a specific direction. Here's what I can tell you. And this last reading that where this happened, they said, I'm really feeling school, like you want to go back, not that you want to go back to school, it would be good for you to go back to school and start taking different courses so that you expose yourself and get some direction and clarity and focus. Because when you come and you have no direction, clarity, or focus, sometimes that's an indication that you need to do more work. You can't just be like, I don't know where to go, I don't know who I am. I mean, we all feel that from time to time, but you have to have well, you don't have to, it helps us to have some kind of direction. And so for this young woman, she had no idea where to go, and so we told her what wasn't good for her, and then they told her what was a good starting point. And I've had this come up a couple of times where they've said, you need to go and explore. It's like going to a they use this metaphor, a smorgasbord, I can't say that word,
yeah.
or a buffet, where you're going to sample all these different types of foods and appetizers so that you get a feel for what you like and what you don't. And from there, come back in another 6 months or a year, and we can give you better direction from there. It's frustrating for me though, and I tell them, I wish I could be clearer with you, but you have to do some work before we can give you the clarity that you're seeking.
Exactly, exactly. Because we understand why, they're hoping to hear like, oh, you need to be, a flight attendant. You know what I mean? Like something really direct, and I know for me, those kind of questions, there's a couple ways will come in for me. Like sometimes I'll just allow myself to see pictures of like, what kind of setting do I see them in? And sometimes that'll be helpful for me a little bit. And then a lot of times our guides to questions like what you're talking about, Julie, like if they, are like, I don't know what to be doing, our guides I notice will go to their strengths, which again, people who love what they do for a living, they're playing on their strengths and their interests, right? So then they'll kind of, highlight that a little bit in hopes that that kind of gives them some direction as well. Um, but I agree with that. I was going to say something else to the idea of the vocation kind of thing that you were talking about. Now it slipped my mind. But yeah, I mean, I hope that's kind of helpful too, knowing that if you have questions like that, I know for me, I like, let's say somebody's saying, I don't know what college to go to. I'm going to say, give us at least three they're looking at.
Exactly.
Yeah, we like
Cities,
to look at highlights.
cities or parts of the country or something.
Exactly. Where should I live? Right. Sometimes you get questions like that. Sometimes I might let myself go into a map sort of in my mind's eye again and see kind of locate it. If it's in the United States, I'm not good at geography at all. But I mean, like, okay, is it in the middle? Is it the East Coast, West Coast, and maybe I'll do a little bit of that, but I sure love, usually the next question is, okay, you've already been thinking about some places. I know you have. so
Exactly.
so give me some ideas to work with. And yeah, so it's the same thing we're talking about. Yeah, again, we share this with you because we hope that, this will be helpful for you. We're kind of going into that subject of probably one that we should do about how to prepare for a reading, right? In a sense, we're kind of doing some of that right now.
I know
But yeah,
we have just a few more minutes for
oh,
Tammy.
I just saw my alert pop on my thing. That's okay. I've got about 5 minutes probably.
Think I have something coming up too, but I'm not sure. Anyway, yes, I think this, we kind of inadvertently went in that direction, and so that's, and I think this is true for a lot of psychics. I, I mean, I can't speak for everybody else or even really anybody else, but just based on what has we've discovered here. So I think the more you can it's interesting. I mean, years ago before I did what I did, I would go to psychics.
Mhm.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I still like to go and treat myself to readings from somebody else.
I do
Yeah,
too.
I mean, not often. I don't do it as, often, but I do like to do it once in a while.
And I know Dottie, you know Dottie. Dottie uses a deck of cards, regular deck of cards. That's what she uses. It just never resonated for me at all, and that's fine. It's what she uses. Lots of readers use tarot cards, and it just we're the same in that I hear it, see it, feel it, know it, and that's enough information for me in any given sitting. So I
Right, right.
don't want
Yeah,
to add
because
anything else to the mix.
yeah. And those others are great tools. I know tarot. I did tarot at the beginning. I used to do a lot of tarot readings, and I love it. I mean, I just don't do it anymore,
Exactly.
mainly because I'm focusing on my other. I don't have anything against it. I just do my other way. But yeah, so sometimes it's a tool for intuitives to use. They're intuitive anyway, but they might get a little extra umph from from like using cards and things.
So, any last thoughts? I don't have any particular cattails except that Felix was a jerk this morning, as he so often is. He's so ADD, and he just runs. I have a very long hall. My house is very long, and he sometimes will just run down the hall at full speed. It is just,
He's like, woohoo!
someday I'm going to get a video of it, but until that happens, I'm unfortunately the only one who enjoys it. But
Oh, I bet it's fun to see though. I had one at the vet yesterday. Long story, but yeah, he's had intestinal problems. I'll just say that, and he's got blood work done and all that. So he's on antibiotics, and yeah, that was kind of a whole thing. It's been a little messy. You get my drift. Been
I
a little
do.
messy in the house.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
lower intestinal.
Oh,
So
no.
on our way to getting that fixed up, but that's my cattail. So, and I will give just a little, because I know we didn't have a full on, I think we were channeling, obviously. Anything that comes up is generally, we're being nudged.
Exactly.
Who knows?
100%. I feel that way like all of the time.
Exactly.
Years ago, I was at a fair and I sat down with another woman to do a quick trade that she worked in the records too. And I believe that you work in the records too. I think that we work in the records and just a collective, right?
Yeah, right.
And I sat down and I said to her, I feel like I'm always there. I shut some of it, officially down when I'm not in a reading,
Yeah,
but I just feel like I'm always somewhere getting information. So
definitely. It's true. I think we kind of dim it a little bit when we need to, or when we're really learning really earthly lessons. Um, so one thing I'm getting right now, just really quickly, and I'll make this short because I know we need to make it short, is pay attention to your dreams. Now, this message will come in often in readings, which I find very interesting, but they did just drop it into me right now. If anything for what we're getting, pay attention to dreams. Lots of good ideas and solutions, as we know, come in the dream state. Or even if it's something that kind of plays out a little story, pay attention to it, take some time with it, analyze it. Might learn some things about where you're at right now within yourself. Don't worry if you don't remember your dreams. Yes, you do dream. You do. You just may not be bringing it back to consciousness, full consciousness, but you do dream. You can promote, you can ask for it kind of before you go to sleep, maybe to be more aware of your dreams and be patient with it. But anyway, they just dropped that in. So I'm just sharing it. Hope that helps somebody.
thank you. I love it. I love it. And while you were speaking, I'll just and say this last bit. They said also daydreams. Pay attention to your daydreams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Good.
when you're in the shower or what, just where your mind can kind of free float. So
Absolutely. Very good, Julie. In the shower, that's where you feel like you can just, the water's going on. And yeah, you go to places that's kind of surprising.
I know
But
it's
that's a good point.
wonderful today. I guess we went exactly where we were supposed to go. We thank you so much for tuning in and your support. And as always, we will take your questions. We love your questions. Please question us.
Yeah. If you have any comments about what we talked about today or questions dealing with what we talked about, we would love to chat about that and channel about that.
Absolutely. Okay, so you know where to find us until next time. Julie, the Biz Psychic, and YouTube, and you know where to find us. And Tammy,
Yep. And tammy'sintuitive.com is my website. And you can find me Tammy's Intuitive Services, Facebook, Instagram for channeled messages from our guides. So
so good at that. I'm just like, you know where I am. I'm going to get better at that next time. All right. Thank you all. We'll see you next time.
thanks. Bye bye. Have a good day.